Thank you for tuning in. The news of a ceasefire and hostages deal being reached between Israel and Hamas was met with rallies worldwide. While most celebrated, some protested the truce.
Following the announcement of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, protests erupted globally as people voiced their reactions. The agreement, reached on January 15th, calls for a 6-week truce, with Israeli forces gradually withdrawing from Gaza and hostages being exchanged for Palestinian prisoners. In Israel, hard right supporters blocked highways, condemning the ceasefire. Around 200 protesters gathered near the Knesset, calling on US and Israeli leaders to defend the land of Israel. Meanwhile, families of Israeli hostages expressed frustration over the delay in ratifying the deal. Activists in New York braved sub-zero temperatures to rally in support of the ceasefire, but also called for the swift return of hostages. In London, protesters in Trafalgar Square expressed cautious optimism, relieved for Gaza, but concerned about the durability of the deal.
We wanted to mark the ceasefire agreement, which obviously we are relieved about, and we are enjoy because the people of Gaza are in joy. We're relieved because the people of Gaza are relieved. But at the same time, obviously, we have a lot of apprehension because we know that the news of a ceasefire has been floated around previously, and we hope that this ceasefire is actually a permanent ceasefire and that it carries through.
The situation in Iran took on a different tone as demonstrators in Tehran celebrated the deal, waving Hezbollah, Palestinian and Iranian flags. The crowds cheered, claiming the axis of resistance remains strong and defiant, despite the toll the conflict has taken on Gaza. In Jordan, hundreds gathered in Amman to support the ceasefire. Demonstrators expressed relief, particularly over the humanitarian benefits the ceasefire might bring. As international diplomats work to finalize details, the ceasefire appears set to begin on Sunday, but its sustainability remains in question. Both sides have already resumed exchanges of blame, with Israeli warplanes continuing to strike Gaza even after the deal's announcement, further complicating the fragile peace.
The Israeli Security Cabinet approved the ceasefire and hostages deal, recommending the wider government to give its final green light. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said that the recommendation of the cabinet comes following an evaluation of all diplomatic, security, and humanitarian aspects. The meeting of the wider government is expected shortly. The UN Security Council was briefed on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine by UN Chief of Political Affairs Rosemary DiCarlo. According to her, civilian casualties surged by a third in 2024 compared to the previous year. The latest briefing also highlighted allegations of North Korean involvement in the conflict.
Following a briefing at the United Nations, emotions were mixed as the situation in Ukraine worsens. UN Under-Secretary General Rosemary DiCarlo expressed a grave concern over the increase in civilian casualties, especially among children. DiCarlo condemned Russia's continued attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, calling them reprehensible and aimed at terrorizing civilians. DiCarlo also raised alarming reports of North Korean troops fighting alongside Russian forces, a development that has sparked concerns about the war's further internationalization. South Korea's Ambassador Jong Kwang elaborated, relieving that 2 North Korean soldiers were captured in the Kursk region of Russia, and they were unaware of being deployed for the war. The allegations were strongly denied by Russia, with Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia dismissing them as a part of a large narrative against Russia. He further accused Ukraine of preparing a bloody provocation to blame Russia.
The rumors in Kiev suggest that the regime, together with its UK sponsors, is preparing a large-scale bloody provocation for which Russia will be blamed.
Meanwhile, Ukraine's ambassador Sergei Kislesta responded to Russia's denials, reaffirming that Ukrainian forces had indeed captured North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region, contradicting Russia's claims.
We all remember how vehemently Russia denied in this chamber any involvement of the DPRK troops in this war against Ukraine. Last week, Ukrainian Defense Forces captured North Korean soldiers in the Kursk region.
As tensions continue, the involvement of North Korean soldiers and the ongoing fighting deepen concerns over the future trajectory of the conflict.
Denmark says it plans to expand its air base in Greenland, transforming it into an operational military base to strengthen its presence in the Arctic. The base will host F-35 fighter jets and long-range drones for surveillance and defense. The move follows a $2.1 billion plan approved by Denmark's parliament to enhance military capabilities in the region, including the acquisition of new drones and patrol vessels. In 3 days' time, Donald Trump takes office as the President of the United States. On what his administration can bring to various hotspots around the world, we're talking to Julia O'Connell of the Dignitas Fund, joining us from New York. Welcome and thank you for joining us. Let's start with the most obvious one. What do you expect from the incoming administration when it comes to Ukraine? We've heard Trump on the campaign trail saying that he'll end the war in 24 hours. Now his advisors backtracking, saying it's gonna probably take 100 days.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be here today. Well, we have a very large Ukrainian community in United States, and we weekly discuss what's new. And as you said, President Trump said 24 hours. What I think we believe that he didn't have enough information in front of him, and as right now he was getting a lot more information, a lot more understanding that it's not being to do it within 24 hours is a little bit unrealistic. What we are here from Trump administration is very important. One is a peace through strength. So what we are, the message peace through strength is actually appealing to Ukraine and around the world, because we, like no other nation, we understand that Russia understands strength. And so if we're going to any type of negotiations, those negotiations cannot be from the weak position. Those negotiations have to be from the position of the strength. And we believe that President Trump is the one who exudes strength, who is always a strong president. And we believe that he will be able to, fully follow this narrative. What we, as community, we also continue advocate with our local congressmen, with senators, again, with this message, peace through strength.
Trump's pick for National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, said that he does not think it's realistic to expel every Russian from every inch of Ukrainian soil, and he said that Trump acknowledged this reality. What do you think this could mean for potential negotiations? We know that Ukraine is holding in the Kursk region for months already.
Ukrainians, I believe not only Waltz said that, but also Ukrainians actually do realize right now that with the force, with the what we've been receiving, with the amount of ammunition and weapons that was honestly within Biden administration too little and too slow coming, and we were losing the ground much faster. We were losing the ground because the aid was not coming in the right amount at right time. What we also understand that right now to do it with the force probably is going to be a little bit unrealistic. So however, the guarantees, the security guarantees for the territory of Ukraine that is not occupied right now for Russia is extremely important, and that is a strength. So what we believe that even though we understand that right now the occupied territory is not in immediate, reach to deoccupation, similar to what we believe is similar to Germany, that was part of NATO, the western part of Germany, and the eastern part of Germany for the longest time was under Soviet Union occupation. But the time comes when the country unites. So we believe that that would be one of the possibilities is having Ukraine joining the not occupied part of Ukraine joining that NATO. And we do not believe that bleeded Russia, because Russia is also bleeding right now through this war. They are also weaker, much weaker than they even 2 years ago when they started. The sanctions that was not working very well in the beginning, or Russia could find a way around them. Now we have with the shipment. I'm sorry, with the oil, right? That they are moving around. They can't move around oil anymore. So the sanction, the right type of sanctions could work really, really well. So, and Ukrainians, we understand that we need to save the country. So, for us, it's extremely important that is Ukraine not disappear on the map, right? So, if United States abandon Ukraine, does not provide help, most likely what would happen, Russia will occupy full Ukraine, and Ukraine will disappear from the map as a nation, not as a nation, because we're still a very strong nation, but as a country for sure. So for us, very important to save the country. And the rest of the occupied territory, it's a matter of time, 10 years, 15 years, in terms of historical, in terms of history, it's a moment. It's not very extended, a long period of time. And we know examples of China. China can sit and wait for hundreds of years. They don't look at the changes of the country within 1 or 2 years. History is a long period of time for us, and we'll get those territories back.
As we continue to discuss the effects of the incoming Trump administration on global hotspots, we are now joined as well by Atif Chaudhry, senior official of Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Insaf party. Hi Atif, thank you for joining us. What do you make of the situation in the Middle East right now? The Israeli Security Cabinet approved ceasefire and hostage deal. We are waiting for the wider government to give its final go-ahead. Do you believe that both sides will adhere to the agreed terms? And if not, what do you expect the Trump administration to do about it?
Hi, thank you for taking me on it. First thing, at least after almost 468 days, we have some good news of this. I actually don't call it a war. This is a one-sided bombing on innocent people, which they did for 468 days. And now the new regime coming, I think they wasn't listening to anyone. And since the Biden regime, which they did all this massacre in the whole tenure, which will be written as a black in a black wording of the history. So Trump come in and they start listening that, and we hope at the moment, since the ceasefire announced, what I was checking, they still killed 100 more innocent civilians. So and we are wishing and we think that they will abide and on ceasefire, which is much needed. And rather the kind of support they need, and they have lost everything. So at the moment, I think we should have our finger crossed, and we should pray, and we should push as we can as the community to Israeli to ceasefire, and this agreement should go ahead from 19th, which is only one day ahead, and we should be in a position that we should sit together again and we talk, yes, it's been done now, it's happened now, and we are going for the rehabilitation for Gaza people. So it's still, for me, still in vague. It's not really clear. So we need a proper steps, a proper statements and everything by the cabinet and everyone. I don't know what's happened. If it's been passed by the cabinet and all, which I have time, it delayed. So I don't know if you can enlighten me on that. It's not been passed yet.
It was approved by the tighter security cabinet, and it should be voted on by the by the wider government shortly.
Well, the vote is around there. They are not. I think I was reading that news, but there's too much rumors and news. They said they're trying to delay the vote now.
Thank you, Atif, for joining us. Yulia, now you are in New York. What's the pulse stateside when it comes to Trump's foreign policy priorities? We've heard him mention Greenland, Panama Canal, obviously the China tariffs, Mexico and Canada tariffs. What's the pulse in the States?
This is hard to comment because it's a lot of memes around about this, a lot of jokes around kind of happening. And you see it in our private chats, on social media. We quite, as a Ukrainian community, didn't make out of it. We didn't form, honestly, the point, what it means. Trump does, he has a tendency to do very tweet something that people react really fast and react in a very shocking way, and he is known to shock the public. So we have to wait and see what it means, honestly. So we don't really know. And his son traveling to Greenland, yes, as a private citizen, we've seen that, having the tour meeting. This is not what we actually support, because that looks exactly like what Russia, when they occupied Donbass or Crimea, was saying, oh, look at these people, they are asking us to come and help. So we've seen that when the Trump's Jr. came to the Greenland, it was like some kind of organized people who looked like they are asking America to. And I'm sure Denmark is also a little bit shocked. So, and Denmark was a gigantic and huge supporter of Ukraine. They've done amazing work to support Ukraine. So yes, we are definitely a little bit shocked, just like the rest of the world. But I think that the Greenland question about buying it by American, Trump is not the first person who offered to buy Greenland, to say the least. So that's we have to wait and see how it will develop.
Just shortly back to Ukraine, as the war nears the end of its third year, the Kremlin stated that it's open to talks with Donald Trump. Given Trump's business background and his deal-making philosophy, do you maybe expect the war to be over in this year?
We would not be surprised if the war would be type of ceasefire. So it will be not a hot kind of war that happening right now. We do not believe that the war will stop, because President Putin does not have a goal. He didn't start the war 10 years ago or in 2014, so he can have Avdiivka, Bakhmut, and maybe Pokrovsk today, right? His goal is to have fully Ukrainian land occupied. So in his mind, Ukraine doesn't exist. Ukraine is not a nation. So to expect that the war will stop, it's very, very naive from every single angle. So what we could see is a break. Does Putin need a break right now? He truly doesn't seem like he needs a break today because he is advancing on the land, on Ukrainian land. So to sit down and negotiate that he would stop, I think that President Trump will maybe have a conversation with President Putin. He'll look in his eye and he probably will see what President Zelensky saw in 2019. He also believed that he can sit down with Putin in each other's eyes and come to sort of agreement. It did not happen. The full-scale invasion happened when Putin felt that Ukraine or administration in the United States was not strong enough, and that what I think that President Trump will realize that Ukraine needs more weapons, more support, more training, and that's the way to secure at least not hot period of the war. So that's what we believe. We believe that certain type of ceasefire would to end the war and Putin retreating to the borders of 1991, highly unlikely.
Yulia, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and opinions.
Thank you.
Over in Montenegro, thousands came out to protest the government's handling of a mass shooting that took place on January 1st in Cetinje.
Thousands of people have taken to the streets in Montenegro's town, Cetinje, to protest the government's response to a mass shooting in the southern city. The shooting took place on New Year's Day when a 45-year-old man opened fire after a bar brawl, which killed 13 people, including 2 children. Now these demonstrators call for authorities to resign for failure to ensure public safety.
Our country has once again shown that it has done nothing to protect its citizens and prevent the suffering of the innocent. No one has taken responsibility for such a tragic crime. That is why we are now asking here, who is responsible? Where are those who are accountable, and why have they been silent for days?
Authorities, however, say the shooting was not planned and was impossible to predict and prevent. Stricter gun laws aimed at curbing illegal weapons have been announced, and police raids confiscated approximately 20 firearms and over 500 rounds of ammunition and explosives from various locations as a response to the shooting.
In Mexico, the country's navy seized over 2 tons of cocaine following a high-speed chase at sea.
More than 2 tons of cocaine have been seized by Mexican authorities after 3 boats were intercepted near the coast of Cabo San Lucas. A helicopter, 2 airplanes, and an ocean patrol were deployed for the capture, which resulted in a high-speed chase at sea. A total of 9 Mexicans have been arrested following the incident. Meanwhile, in Sinaloa, the Mexican Navy has located and dismantled a clandestine drug laboratory. The operation, conducted in coordination with the Federal Attorney General's office, uncovered the lab near the state's capital, spanning approximately 1,500 square meters. 15 kilograms of finished product and large quantities of chemical precursors and equipment have been seized by authorities. The lab and materials were neutralized on site to prevent further drug manufacturing.
Wildfires in Southern California have claimed 27 lives since January 7th, leaving thousands of homes destroyed and causing widespread devastation. The Eaton fire is now the deadliest in the region's history.
The devastating wildfires that have been raging across Southern California since January 7th have claimed at least 27 lives, according to a report released on Thursday by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office. The Palisades fire is responsible for 10 deaths, while the Eaton fire has been linked to 17 fatalities. The wildfires have caused widespread destruction, leaving thousands of homes and structures in ruins. With the Eaton fire now considered the deadliest and most destructive wildfire in Southern California's history, the Palisades fire ranks as the second most severe. The damage has been particularly devastating in the Pacific Palisades area, where approximately 510 hectares have burned, stretching between Santa Monica and Malibu. As smoke filled the skies, around 30,000 people were forced to evacuate their homes. The fires created severe traffic disruptions as people fled the area, with extreme winds further complicating the situation overnight. Officials have estimated that the economic losses from the fires could reach between $250 billion to $275 billion US. While fewer than 100,000 people remain under evacuation orders, some areas are still impacted by the ongoing flames. To aid recovery efforts, a benefit concert called Fire Aid will be held on January 30th. It would feature performances from major artists, including Los Angeles-born native Billie Eilish and her brother Finance, along with Dave Matthews, John Mayer, and Sting. The concert aims to raise funds to support those affected by the catastrophic wildfires.
Ruben Vardanyan's transition from a financial powerhouse to a man on trial is captivating international attention. Today, he faces charges in Baku's military court, accused of terrorism, financing armed groups, and other grave offenses. Who is Ruben Vardanyan and how did he become embroiled in such high-stakes allegations? Here are the details.
Vardanyan's court hearing, presided over by Judge Zainal Agayev on January 17th, addresses accusations ranging from terrorism to crimes against humanity. According to the Azerbaijani State Security Service, these charges stem from his alleged involvement in funding and organizing illegal armed groups operating in Karabakh. Best known as the founder of Troika Dialog, one of Russia's premier investment banks, Vardanyan also carved a reputation as an advocate for global Armenian interests. His career trajectory has taken him from Moscow's financial elite to international headlines. Vardanyan's impact on Russia's economy was profound. Under his leadership, Troika Dialog became a cornerstone of Russian finance, and he served on the boards of major companies like Kamaz and Volga-Dnepr. His work extended to the Skolkovo Innovation Center, a flagship project in Russia's bid to modernize its economy. The Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, OCCRP, revealed that Troika Dialog facilitated the transfer of billions of dollars through a complex network of offshore accounts. These transactions reportedly benefited Russian oligarchs and government-affiliated entities. Although Vardanyan has denied direct involvement, OCCRP's investigation paints a picture of a financial ecosystem intertwined with Kremlin interests.
Vardanyan and his family were among those who received money from the laundromat. More than $3.2 million was used to pay for his American Express card, went to accounts belonging to his wife and family, and paid school fees for his 3 children in Great Britain. Asked about these sums, Vardanyan said the offshore companies Troika created serviced his own companies in addition to the bank's clients.
In a dramatic shift, Vardanyan renounced his Russian citizenship in 2022 to avoid Western sanctions. But Ukraine included him on its sanctions list for providing logistical support to the Russian occupation army. Right after denouncing his Russian citizenship, he relocated to Karabakh, assuming the role of state minister in the so-called unrecognized self-proclaimed Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. He positioned himself as a visionary leader focused on the region's development amid escalating tensions. The timing of Vardanyan's move has raised suspicions. Analysts argue that his presence in Karabakh coincided with Russia's strategic interests in maintaining influence over the South Caucasus. Vardanyan has faced accusations of being a Kremlin-installed figure aimed at undermining Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan, who has pursued more pro-Western policies. These claims are widely discussed in geopolitical analyses, including reports by Stratfor and the Moscow Times. During his tenure as state minister, Vardanyan reportedly facilitated the operations of illegal armed factions. According to Azerbaijani security services, he facilitated the funding and operation of these groups, contravening international and Azerbaijani law. His activities have been a focal point in Azerbaijan's legal and diplomatic efforts to reassert control over Karabakh.
Based on the collected evidence, reasonable suspicions have arisen that Vardanyan Ruben Karlenovich, born in 1968, currently a citizen of the Republic of Armenia, committed the criminal acts under Articles 214-1, financing of terrorism, 279.3, participation in an armed formations or groups, which are not provided by the legislation, and 318.1, illegal crossing of the state border of the Republic of Azerbaijan, of the Criminal Code of the Republic of Azerbaijan.
Vardanyan's arrest on September 27, 2023, marked a turning point. Azerbaijani forces detained him while he attempted to cross into Armenia, citing substantial evidence of his involvement in terrorism and other crimes. His trial, taking place on January 17th, not only scrutinizes his actions, but also has broader implications for regional dynamics.
Georgia's Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze arrived to Azerbaijan for a working visit, during which he had a one-on-one meeting with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev. Our Orhan Amashov brings more on that.
His post-election foreign trip, Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze is here in Azerbaijan today. He has arrived this morning. His foreign minister was here. And of course, the bilateral relations between Azerbaijan and Georgia, the connectivity agenda, regional matters, energy component being at the very heart of everything that has been discussed here are going to be reflected upon throughout the day. Just a few moments ago, two leaders, President Ilham Aliyev and Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze, held the press conference. Some very important statements have been made. The President Aliyev reflected on the economic relations, energy component, stating that Azerbaijan is presently exporting natural gas to 11 countries via Georgian territory, and also adding that Georgia's energy needs, consumption needs, 80% of those needs are being met by Azerbaijani natural gas exports. And of course, President Aliyev congratulated Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze on his election victory, specifically emphasizing the fact that this is his first post-election foreign trip. He also reflected on the intensity of the meetings made by trips made by Georgian Prime Minister, saying that he also visited Azerbaijan during COP29 and early 2024. And also Georgian Prime Minister Irakli Kobakidze described President Ilham Aliyev as a model for the region, praised his qualities, and also expressed his hope for further improvement of bilateral relations and regional connectivity agenda. Let me remind you that Prime Minister Kobakidze is here also to co-chair the 10th session of the Intergovernmental Commission on Economic Cooperation, alongside his Azerbaijani counterpart, Prime Minister Ali Asadov. Bilateral meetings, including high-level delegations, will be taking place throughout the day, and of course we will keep you updated as to the latest developments. Orhan Amashov, A News.
China's economy has wrapped up 2024 on a stronger note than anticipated, supported by government stimulus measures. However, looming challenges, including tensions with the United States and weak domestic demand, make prospects for 2025 uncertain.
China's 2024 economic performance highlights a delicate balancing act. While stimulus measures have provided a boost, the path ahead is fraught with uncertainties, ranging from domestic challenges to global trade tensions. Data released by the National Bureau of Statistics today shows that China's economy grew by 5.0% in 2024, meeting the government's annual target. Fourth quarter growth was the strongest in over a year, reflecting the impact of recent support measures. China's gross domestic product expanded by 1.6% quarter-on-quarter, aligning with forecasts and improving from a revised 1.3% in the previous quarter. These figures highlight the impact of Beijing's stimulus efforts designed to stabilize growth amid ongoing challenges. Yet, the economic landscape remains complex. China continues to struggle with a prolonged property crisis, rising local government debt, and sluggish consumer demand. On the international front, US President-elect Donald Trump, set to return to the White House next week, has proposed steep tariffs on Chinese goods. Analysts warn that these measures could undermine the stability of China's export sector. Despite these challenges, China achieved a trade surplus of $992 billion in last year. However, yuan has faced pressure, dropping to a 16-month low. Analysts attribute this to a strong US dollar, falling Chinese bond yields, and fears of heightened trade barriers. Meanwhile, December's economic data suggests that Beijing's support measures are gaining traction. Industrial output and retail sales both showed solid improvements, aided by government efforts and preparations for the upcoming Lunar New Year.
The latest test of SpaceX's giant Starship rocket has failed minutes after launch. Officials at Elon Musk's company said the upper stage was lost after problems developed after liftoff from Texas. But the Super Heavy booster managed to return to its launch pad as planned, prompting an eruption of applause from ground control teams.
Are items that if we pass them, we're scrubbed for the day. One.
Over in Spain, several thousand people gathered for the annual Las Luminarias festival as horses and riders took part in the traditional bonfire celebration on the eve of St. Anthony's Day, Spain's patron saint of animals.
It's that time of the year again. A few thousand people have gathered in San Bartolomé de Pinares, a village northwest of Madrid, for what is commonly known as the annual Las Luminarias festival. The streets are lit up by numerous bonfires as riders take turns riding their horses through the flames. The objective of the ritual is to purify and protect each horse involved. Residents seem to appreciate the spectacle.
The celebration of Las Luminarias is special. It's a special feeling. I, for example, do not ride a horse, but I admit that if I don't come and don't get purified with the smoke, my year goes differently. My year starts on January 16th.
I can't explain in words what it is. You have to live through it in order to understand what it is like.
This festival takes place every year on the eve of St. Anthony's Day, who is Spain's patron saint of animals. The event has been criticized by animal rights groups over the past years, but organizers say they take precautionary measures like braiding horses' manes and covering their tails to protect them from being burnt. More than 100 horses and their riders participated in this year's event.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you for joining and stay tuned to A News.